Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the Artur Rodzinsky box on eloquence. Oh, baby, we've all been waiting for this one. There have been a couple Rodzinsky boxes, actually. One on scribendum, particularly. And I have that, right over here. It's sitting right there. So I'll probably talk about that one, too, if I haven't already. It's just that this is the official Westminster recordings. The scribendum box has other Rodzinsky stuff from Sony and other labels or whatever they were on. And there have already been a couple Rodzinsky boxes, right? Because he was with Cleveland for a while, the New York Philharmonic, before most of this stuff, which is his Royal Philharmonic recordings and other European orchestras. Now, Rodzinsky, Rodzinsky was a straight-ahead, exciting, no-nonsense conductor. And there would be a tendency, I think, to overrate him, if only because he was so free from bullshit and mannerisms in the way he conducted. He just got up there and he was exciting and he was raw and he was intense and that counts for so much, especially these days where there's this somewhat affected stylistic thing happening among so many conductors where they feel they have to make an impression by doing something, noticeably stupid, or they need to have some kind of characteristic calling card in the way they conduct, like Osmo Venska's super duper pianissimo. I mean, the thing about Rodzinsky is that he was a romantic conductor, which means there's flexibility of tempo, and he did some things that we'll talk about in a little bit. But at the same time, there's a great naturalness. He's just letting the music happen. And it's so refreshing. And so, the context is a little different, I think, from when these recordings were actually made, where he was always considered to be kind of a second-rater. But, whether he is or isn't really the point. It's impossible to say, absent, like I said, the context in which he appears. And in today's context, we're not likely to accuse him of second-ratosity, except in a couple of pieces, which I mentioned we'll get to. So let's see what's in here. There's 25 discs. He also did, I will say, a tremendous amount of fun music, which you might call pops music. He wasn't a German standards conductor. He was a French and Russian and that kind of conductor who did the fun music, and he did it really well. So that's also part of the whole thing here. So we begin with Beethoven's Fifth and Schubert's Unfinished, with a lovely little rehearsal segment in Beethoven's Fifth. Is it the greatest Beethoven's Fifth? No. Is it fun? Yes. The rehearsal is also fun. The Schubert Unfinished is nothing special, and that's okay. Because that's not what he's known for. Here's what he is known for. Carmen and l'Arlésienne suites. Oh, this stuff is fun. Some of these recordings are mono, some are stereo. The sonics range from sort of boxy and congested to actually quite good. So you have to take it as it comes. I'm warning you now. But Carmen suites, this kind of stuff, the Pops repertoire, you might want to call it, he was marvelous because he didn't treat it like Pops repertoire. He, like every great Pops conductor, knew that great music is great music, and you have to play it like great music, and it sounds great when you do. And it does. Bloch, Shlomo, yeah, with Antonio Yanigro, cellist, and Brooks Kol Nidra and Canzone for cello and orchestra. Beautiful works in the Franck Variation Symphonique, the symphonic variations with Paul Bedora Skoda, who is not really your ideal Franck pianist, but he does a good enough job, and he also plays the Rimsky-Korsakov Piano Concerto. So that's an interesting selection of stuff. It really is. Brahms and Tchaikovsky, violin concertos with Erica Moroni. Well, these are classics. They're well-known, almost legendary, and there is a rehearsal of the Brahms and Tchaikovsky violin concertos. This stuff is all in here. And kudos to Westminster and Cyrus Mayer-Homji at Universal for making sure that all of this material got in here. Fantastic stuff. Chopin piano concertos with Paul Bedora Skoda and the orchestra of the Vienna Staatsoper. There's better Chopin. We can't pretend. So, but people who are Bedora Skoda followers will follow his Bedora. Dvorak, Slavonic Dances, Royal Philharmonic. This is a good set. Very, very good set. It's Antal Dorati also did an excellent Slavonic dances with the Royal Philharmonic. They knew their Slavonic dances. Maybe because Rodzinsky sort of taught them to them. I don't know, but it's good. It really is. So that's fine. Then we've got the New World Symphony, which is, again, with these standard repertoire chestnut symphony things, everyone's going to have their favorite performance, and Rodzinsky was never on anyone's hot list of reference recordings for these works. But they're good, solid, exciting performances. And that's really the point. That's all alone, by the way, on that particular CD. Franck, Symphony in D minor, and Le Chasseur Maudit with the orchestra of the Vienna State Opera. Well, interesting. Let's just say interesting and not the usual stuff. It's great that he did Le Chasseur Maudit. He did have a very, very good feeling for, some of the less usual repertoire. The Franck Symphony, it's not Monte. Let's not kid ourselves. Grieg, oh yes, Peer Gynt, Suites 1 and 2, the piano concerto with Yuri Bukov, piano. These are all actually rather good. Very, very good. So that's nice. Kodai, this is always a fun record. Hari Janos Galanta dances and then Marashek dances. Exciting performances. Vivid and punchy, and I'm into vivid punch. So that's fine. Mozart, oh, here we go. The clarinet concerto and the bassoon concerto with Leopold Vlach clarinet and Karl Oehlberger with the Vienna State Opera, the Vienna soloists, with Rodzinsky accompanying quite nicely. I find the Mozart a little droopy, frankly, but that's me. Night on Bald Mountain. Oh, this is fun. Pictures in an exhibition. Here's one of those things. Not now, Finster. Finster wants to get up here, but I'm blocking her. I'm blocking her route. Down. Good girl. Okay. The pictures in an exhibition I find to be really actually kind of lacking in just that panache and fun that Rodzinsky really brings to so much other music, especially the ending, which is very hasty. So that was disappointing. The Night on Bald Mountain is much more fun. The Poloftsian dances and Caucasian sketches, all that stuff's great. But the pictures doesn't do it. It really doesn't, which is a shock. Then we get Peter and the Wolf with Gary Moore. Oh, you remember Gary Moore? I remember Gary Moore narrating with the Royal Phil, and the Carnival of the Animals with Gary Moore, and Joseph Dickler and Greta Dickler piano with the orchestra of the Wiener Staatsoper and Saint-Saëns and the Royal Phil in the Prokofiev. Then you get Prokofiev for fun in hi-fi. And this is that. You get the Carnival of the Animals again. This is with Herman Scherchen, by the way, not with Rodzinsky. Yes, they're both with Herman Scherchen, not with Rodzinsky, but, with narration and without narration. And then the Prokofiev, you've got the Classical Symphony, the Love for Three Oranges, and Peter and the Wolf. And Peter and the Wolf is without narration, which is fun. It is fun. It's Prokofiev and it's fun. And the Saint-Saëns stuff with Scherchen is, a nice bonus. Don't you think? I think. Schumann, Piano Concerto, Introduction and Allegro, and the Introduction and Concert Allegro, the Concertstück, actually, Introduction and Allegro, Opus 92, with Jörg Demus and the Vienna. You get these Viennese pianists hanging out in this music. This is fun. That's worth hearing. That's definitely worth hearing. Shostakovich, Fifth. I mean, Rodzinsky was one of the great advocates of this work when it was new. I don't think his interpretation, frankly, holds up all that well. But it's interesting to hear what someone was doing with this music when it was quite literally brand new. I mean, he recorded it a couple times, and I think, yeah, he did. It's in one of those other boxes, isn't it? Yes. And it's fun to hear. It's not a great performance, but, when a work is new and lots of people are doing it, you get to hear them triangulating and the evolving sort of consensus on how it's supposed to go. And it's interesting to hear performances from before that consensus emerged. This is one of them. Konstantin Silvestris was one of them too, I think. It's really very interesting. Strauss waltzes. Well, what's not to love? I mean, yeah, Strauss waltzes. They're very Strauss and waltzy. And we have Richard Strauss. Oh, these are good. Till Eulenspiegel, Don Juan, and Rosenkavalier Suite, which Rodzinsky actually put together. It was his composition, not Strauss's, to be fair. And so he had a proprietary ownership and interest in it. And this is a really fine Strauss disc. It's exciting and really passionate. Then we've got the Nutcracker. Now, this Nutcracker gets a lot of love from a lot of people. It's very fast, 70 minutes. Very fast, very vividly recorded. The balances are not great, actually. The strings are sort of out there, but the percussion and the battle and all that stuff is all really up front and in your face. And it's exciting as hell. It really is. And some people love it for that reason. I love it, but there are more elegant and sophisticated performances of the music. But this is sort of a rumble in the jungle, and it's okay with me. Then we've got more Tchaikovsky. What's this one? Swan Lake and Nutcracker. Well, the conclusion of the Nutcracker, and then a little 4-minute rehearsal. And then the Swan Lake Suite and the Nutcracker Suite with the Wiener Staatsoper. The Royal Phil does the full Nutcracker ballet, and the Wiener Staatsoper does the other Tchaikovsky stuff. Rodzinsky was an interesting Tchaikovsky conductor because we have here symphonies 4, 5, and 6. They are a little bit dully recorded, not as excitingly recorded as the Nutcracker, that's for damn sure, with the Royal Phil. Kind of murky. The fourth would be good if it sounded better. It's not the most stunning performance out there, but in good sound, it would have been very exciting. The fifth is completely out of the running because he makes that horrible cut in the finale, which drives me absolutely bonkers and useless and silly. And I just don't, if it's a great performance, if it's a staggering performance that just knocks your socks off, okay, I accept it. This is not, and I don't accept it. The Podium, well, this is the best of the three. It's another one of those performances that just has a sort of raw emotional intensity that you just sort of throw up your hands and say, okay, yeah, I mean, that's it. And, he was one of those guys for all the cuts in the fifth and whatnot who just got Tchaikovsky. Everybody did back then. They played it. It was part of the repertoire. You might tinker a little bit, but you knew how to do it. Today, they don't. And that's the problem. Then we've got some Wagner. Wagner stuff is great. Wagner stuff is terrific. You've got, let's see, Valkyrie stuff, Götterdämmerung, Tristan Prelude and Liebestod, Lohengrin, Prelude to Act 1, the Tannhäuser Overture, Meistersinger, Prelude to Act 1, and the Suite from Act 3. The Procession of the Master Singers, you get a rehearsal of that. And his Wagner was just, for the same reason the rest of his stuff was convincing. Because there was no philosophizing about it, because it was Wagner. He just conducted it like yummy, juicy, exciting, romantic, red-blooded music. And that's what he was good for. And there's always going to be room for that. So, if you have the Scribendum box, you will have most of this stuff. The Sonics are comparable in both series, but this is a wonderful box. It is beautifully put together. You've got that rehearsal stuff attached to all these goodies, and there's a lot more that's good than is not good. There really is, and even the stuff that's not good is actually interesting. Most of it is actually kind of interesting in the way that it's not good. You can be bad in a good way. Does that make any sense? Yeah, who cares? Get this anyway. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.